Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Wilcox, and I am the project manager for the new Virginia Easy Haul, which is their permitting system for oversized, overweight loads. I'm representing ProMiles, who's the vendor for this system. Some of you may be familiar with some of the other ProMiles systems if you utilize permitting in different areas across the continental United States. With that being said, hopefully everyone can see my screen as I am displaying the Virginia Easy Haul login page. Once again, before we get started, we ask that you all will utilize the chat feature if you have any questions. The questions that can be answered within the chat will be answered there. At the end of the training session, if there are any open-ended questions, we'll make sure to circle back to those and address any of those questions at the end of today's training. In addition to that, following today's training, once we go live, we will have available different training material for you all to utilize and to access from the system as well. Easy Haul is the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles' new permitting system. DMV has worked in conjunction with VDOT, so the process may look a little different as we embark upon today's training. So let's jump in and get started. As I've mentioned, what you're seeing here on the screen is Virginia's new website, which we refer to as Easy Haul. I am in our test environment. We are not scheduled to go live, so you will not be able to start ordering permits in the system until Tuesday, August the 30th at 7:30 a.m. With that being said, however, prior to the launch of the system, you are able to access the production environment and establish your customer account. So I'll describe kind of some of the information that you're seeing here on the login page, and then we'll jump into the system. So here on the login page, the top portion of your screen, you have a customer users login. This is where your users associated to your company account will enter their username and their password and sign in. Once you sign in here, you'll be routed to information for your particular company account. Below there, you have the I forgot my username as well as the I forgot my password functionality. So in the event that one of your users or yourself doesn't recall your username and or your password, you can utilize one of these functions to retrieve that information at a later date. Below that is our helpful links section. This is where you will access the ability to create your customer account. For those of you all who are ordering permits that require the VDOT structure list, they are listed here, are available here, from the helpful links section. We also have the functionality to upload your company insurance. The insurance upload is required for those permitted loads that exceed the 150,000 pound threshold, as well as for any permits that are ordering any local permits in addition to their state permit. In the bottom link is a user tutorial videos. This is where you'll be able to access several YouTube tutorial videos that are specific to the Easy Haul system. It will be also from this link that you'll be able to access your customer training information. Here on the right portion of the screen is where you see any important news and announcements. So anything that the DMV and or VDOT deems important for the permitting public will be listed here in your important news and announcements section. So for example, we have the information about today's training listed here, as well as any of the holiday notices to let you know when permitted loads are required to stop travel within the state of Virginia. So to start today's process, we're going to look at how you create your account within the system. So from the login page, if you click the Create Customer Accounts link, you'll be routed to the Create New Account page. And from here, you have a number of selection options available from your drop-down list. These options is how you describe your company that you're creating the account for. So if you currently have a USDOT number, you'll select this option. If you are a permit service, you can select the I am a permit service and will not be issuing permits in my company name. If you are an individual company and you do not have a USDOT number, you can select the third option. And in the event that you are a governmental entity, such as the National Guard, you can select the I am a government agency option. So for today's training, we're going to select the I have a USDOT number. One thing to keep in mind is that the information or your user information will not transfer to EasyHaul from the current VAP system, from the current DMV system. So each customer is required to create a new account in EasyHaul. Once you select your options for creating your new account, you'll be populated with multiple fields. You have the option to enter your USDOT number, your FEIN, or your SSN. So for this example, I'll just enter USDOT number. I'll enter my FEIN. Keep in mind that for security reasons, your FEIN is not displayed on the screen unless you click the eyeball here at the end of your field. And then even at that point, you're only displayed the last 4 digits of your FEIN. So then once you've entered your information, you just click search. And now the system pulls in your information associated to your USDOT number, as well as your information associated to your customer account number on file with the state of Virginia. So in this example, I've entered my USDOT number. I've returned information from SAFER, or the Federal Motor Carriers Association, as well as I've returned that I do currently have an account set up in the Virginia host system for my customer account. So if you return this information, you need to confirm that this is the correct information on file for your USDOT number, if applicable, as well as if you expect this to say that you have a valid account in the DMV host system, or in the event, this may also return an invalid message. In the event that you do not currently have an account with DMV host, you'll see a different message here in your CSS account number field. Once you have confirmed your information for your customer account, you'll simply click the Create Account button. Once you click the Create Account, the system will automatically populate the information that was pulled in from the Federal Motor Carriers Association or from the SAFER data as it is associated to your USDOT number. If you do not have a USDOT number, the information will be available for you to just enter in your information associated to your company account. So there are some required fields on this screen. So I'll just complete any of the required fields. My USDOT number automatically populated. Now I have the population of my customer account number that's on file from the DMV host system. Here I have the option to select my delivery method. The delivery method is the option for which you will want your issued permit delivered to you once it is approved and paid for. So we have the options to select via email, which means that your permit will be emailed to the email address on file for the person ordering the permit. You also have the option to select to deliver your permit by fax. Or you have the web download option. If you select web download, your issued permits will be available on your customer dashboard whenever you log into the system. Keep in mind that web download is automatic, so all issued permits will be available to for web download. Excuse me. So I'll select just an email option. My phone number pulled in. My physical address information and my mailing address pulled in for information that was on file with SAFER. And now here on the bottom half of the screen, I will create my user. A user is required for access to the system for your company account. So now I'll enter my user information. If previously you tried to log into EasyHall and there was an error creating your account, we were experiencing some issues with some special characters. So if your company name had an ampersand or a dash or an apostrophe in the company name, we were returning an error and you were not able to create your account. Those issues have resolved as of mid-morning today. So now you should be able to log into, establish your account in the production environment. So now that I've entered my user information, keep in mind there are some password minimum requirements that your password must be at least 8 characters long, contain at least 1 digit, one uppercase and at least one uppercase and 1 lowercase character. So now that I've entered all my information for my customer account, I click the Create Customer. And now it tells me that my account was created successfully. If your account was not created successfully, some accounts do require to be submitted to DMV for approval before the account is successfully created and established within EasyHall. So you'll receive the appropriate message here on your account created screen. However, if you receive the notification that your account has been created successfully, you do have the ability at that point to go ahead and log into the system. So now I'll just click Return to Login. So now that my account was created successfully, I can enter my username and password that I was just established here in my when I established the customer account. I enter my username, my established password, and I click Sign in as customer. So now you're logged into the home page of EasyHall. This is where you will conduct all of your business within the permitting system. So we'll go through each of the specific links listed here, kind of what happens to your permit queue, and also some of the panels listed on your right-hand side of the screen. So at the very top of your screen, you should see a user with your username listed next to it. If you select this drop-down, you have the ability to access your user account information, as well as this is where you'll log out of the system. Below that is just a link to get you back to your home page. So the customer dashboard is what we consider as the home page here in EasyHall. The next link is your customer management link. If you click your customer management link, this pulls up your customer information. So this is the information that you entered or that was on file with if you had a USDOT number in the account creation process. So you have your customer information, the phone numbers, and then here on the right, you have your current insurance status. So for this customer account, I just created this account, so there's currently no valid insurance on file, and we'll look at that a little later in today's training. The next link here in your customer management is your customer assets. If you click your customer assets, this is where you're routed to the additional information associated to your company account. The first section is for contacts. If someone in your company may not be the person who was ordering your permits, but may be an accounting contact or just a business contact, this is where you'll add contacts to your account. So contacts, keep in mind, contacts will not have the ability to log in and order permits. So contacts are just people that DMV can utilize to contact you if there are any questions in the permitting order process. If you want to create a new contact, you simply just click the Create New option, and you can add them here. As I mentioned, you have different contact types. So you may have a business contact versus a permitting contact. So usually business is someone you may contact for like financial issues, and then permitting will be the person that you contact in the event of any questions in the permitting process. Contacts are not required. However, it does help in the event that DMV needs to contact someone related to the permitting process. The next section is for addresses. This pulls in the information automatically when you created your account. The next section here, your customer assets, is for terminals. Here with terminals, terminals are once again optional, but in the event that your company has multiple yard locations associated to the same DOT number, you can come in and add each additional terminal or yard or location to your company account. And this will be used in like reporting purposes if you needed to track which yard or which terminal performed or ordered which permits. Once again, terminals are optional. We'll skip over users and just go down to our vehicles section. So here in the vehicles, this is where you can add your vehicles individually. And this is your vehicle information that you'll utilize in the permit order process. Later on in today's training, we'll look at how you can import your vehicles by just simply adding a spreadsheet and just importing them in a batch transaction. The last section we want to look at is your users. Each user that logs into your company account should have their own individual user account created within the system. Specifically, we like to, for auditing purposes, instead of sharing user accounts, you can have one or several different users associated to an account. So the first user that we created in the account creation process is listed here initially in our users dropdown. If you want to add a new user, you simply click the create user link. And this will populate your user management screen. In your user management, this is where you can add any additional personnel who will be accessing the account. You enter the first name, the last name of the user, the login name, which is the equivalent to their username, their email address, and then phone number. Here on the right is where you have a user type. The first user that is assigned to the account defaults to a user type of customer supervisor. Any additional user defaults to a user type of just customer. The difference between these two users is that a customer supervisor has the ability to add additional users to the account and modify the account information for the company. User type of customer does not have that ability. So now you have the option to either select them as a supervisor or as an individual customer. Once again, you can assign your users to a particular yard location if you set those up in your customer assets. And then the last field, you have a start date and an end date. The start date automatically defaults to today. This is the day that the account becomes active and is able to log in to EasyCall. You can leave the end date is not a mandatory field. So if it's indefinitely and you want the user to be able to log in indefinitely, you can leave this field blank. However, let's say you have a temporary employee that's coming in to, that's going to be ordering permits, and they're only going to be here for, let's say, from today through the rest of the year. I can toggle on my has end date. I set their end date by just selecting a date from the calendar. And so now the new user has an end date set of December 31st. So after December 31st of 2022, this particular user will no longer have access to log into the system for your customer account. A great aid, so you don't have to remember to come in and deactivate them once an employee, is no longer there. You can just set this has end date, and then the system automatically deactivates this user when this end date passes. On the bottom half of the screen, this is where you'll manage the user's password. So they can you enter a generic password for the user. And there's a prompt question and a response section. The prompt question and response are required in order to utilize the I forgot my password functionality available from the login page. So if you don't have these set up, using the I forgot my password functionality will be limited. Once you have all your new user information entered, you simply click save. And now it tells me that I was successful in saving my new user. And now this newly created user now can immediately log into the system. There's also a preferences option, which is allows the user to utilize how they want specific information displayed to them throughout the system. Once you're done with your customer management and updating any information associated to your customer, you can simply click the customer dashboard or the home page to be rerouted back to the dashboard. The next option is our vehicle import. As I mentioned, in company management, you have the ability to import a single, to add a single vehicle to your customer data one at a time. You also have the vehicle import option. This gives you the ability to upload an Excel spreadsheet of all the vehicles in your company fleet. So if you're ordering permits for multiple vehicles, this is a great tool that allows you just to pull in a spreadsheet. And so you don't have to enter this information each time you order the permit. That information is going to be maintained on file with your customer account. So to do so, you'll simply click the choose file option. You choose the file from your workstation. It does have to be in ELS or CSV format. I'll choose my file, and the system automatically pulls in the information that was in the spreadsheet that you just attached. So you see down here below in the preview section, this is the information that was available on the spreadsheet that I just uploaded to the system. In the top half of your of the screen, this is where you identify to the system where the data is listed in your spreadsheet. So for my unit number in the spreadsheet in this example, unit number is in column 1. So I leave this to column 1. My year is in column 2. The make in column 3. The VIN here in column 4. The plate in 5. The state in 6. The type is in 8. And so our vehicle type, this is either single unit or combination. The terminal location is in 7. And then the last one asks what row does my data start. So for me in row 1, these are just headers. So I'll select that my data starts in row 2. Once I have all this identified, I click the import sheet. And now it tells you the system has pulled in all the information. And it tells me that I've successfully imported 22 vehicles. I had 0 failures. If there were failures returned, the failures will be listed here on the bottom half of your screen. So now when I go back to my customer management, just to kind of check to see what happened, when I go to my customer management and I look at my customer assets, here now in my vehicle section are all the vehicles that I just imported from my spreadsheet. So in the event that one of these particular vehicles, there was a change to the plate or some information, you can simply modify each individual vehicle here from your customer assets. So I can click on one of my vehicles. It pulls the information that I just uploaded from my spreadsheet. And now I can modify any information that I pulled in from my spreadsheet and now update the information. And so now I have updated information for that particular vehicle. Our next link is our pre-trip planning link. Pre-trip planning is an aid to the customer. So in the event that you want to receive A system-generated route without submitting a permit application. So this is particularly useful when bidding on loads. So maybe you need to know the distance of the trip prior to submitting a bid for a load. You can utilize the pre-trip planning link. Here, you'll enter your dimensions. Keep in mind that in pre-trip planning, we do not take into account any bridge analysis. So your route may be different, but it gives you a great idea of this, the route the system will generate for you. So I can enter my load dimensions. So for example, will be 13.6 high, 12 wide, 110 long, and 85,000 pounds. Once I enter my loaded dimensions, I click next. And now it populates a trip entry options. So this is where I can select my origin and destination options. So where I'm starting from in the state and where I'm ending. So keep in mind, this is only for Virginia. So you have to select your starting point in Virginia and your ending point in Virginia. There are multiple options to select for your origin. So you can utilize an exact physical address. You can utilize intersection, which is the cross section of two streets. You can utilize the latitude, longitude options, which is the selection of a exact coordinate point on a map, or either if you have the exact coordinates, you can enter those into the latitude and longitude fields. We also have a border crossing option, which selects or gives you a list of all the border crossings in the state by road name, following by the city and state for which they where they come into the state or leave the state. We have the option for military base. So if you're starting or ending at a military base, you have a drop-down list of all the military base locations. And then you have your way station locations as well. So if you're starting at a way station, you can select that here from the drop-down list. So for this example, we'll select a border crossing. And we'll just simply select, we'll be at 81 starting at the Tennessee line. And then for our destination, the only difference between our location type drop down is that way stations is not a destination option. So we'll just do that. We're going to just go straight across the state on 81. So we're starting on 81 Tennessee line, and we're going to end at 81 at the West Virginia line. Once we have our routing options selected, we click the routes option. And once we click route, the system will generate a route violating any restrictions associated to your load. At the top, once your route generates, the system does let you know that this is a suggested route only and it is not valid for travel. So once your route generates, it populates the blue route line. You see there's an origin balloon that lets you know this is where we're starting. Destination balloon, this is where we're ending. The green highlights are on the map is what we consider to be our own system. So these are all the routable roads that DMV has the authority to route you on. The red highlights are the restrictions. So these are all of the restrictions that are applicable to the load being permitted. So restrictions that are displayed vary depending on your load dimensions and your weight. So the restrictions that you see here are red are only applicable to the load dimensions that were entered in the previous section. So you can manipulate the map. This is a Google map. There is a Google map underlayer. So if you zoom in and pan around the map, and you can zoom in, you can see something that you see similar to if you're in Google Maps, where you see some different landmarks and things of that nature. Just like in Google Maps, you can turn on your satellite view, which allows you to view the satellite imagery. You also have the ability to utilize your Pegman. So you can drag and drop your Pegman, and it then gives you your street view. And so now you can manipulate just like you would in Google here in your permitting system. And then you just click back, it brings you back to your standard map. Also, a very useful tool is we have the get restriction information for road option. So if you click the radio button for get restriction information for road and you zoom in really close to a red highlight, which once again are your restrictions, and you click the red highlight, it'll let you know the restriction information associated to the highlight that you just clicked. So it just lets you know the road name and what the restriction is associated to that particular highlight. And then you can click close. Below the map, we have a dimensions section. This just gives you your overall dimensions that we entered in the previous section. And then below that, you have your driving directions, which list your origin, your destination, your total trip distance, your abbreviated route description, as well as your turn-by-turn driving directions. Once again, this is the aid to the customer in the event that you wanted to get a system-generated route without submitting a permit application. But keep in mind, this is only for suggestion. This information is not valid for travel. So you will still be required to receive a permit in order to travel this load. All right, so we can just click our home button or our customer dashboard link to get back to our dashboard. The next link is our reports link. If you click your reports option, you do have a customer reconciliation report, which gives you information as it associates to the permits that have been issued for your customer account. So a great tool to help reconcile. The report generates by default to Excel format. You can select the dates for which you want to generate the report. So this is a new company, so I don't have any information listed, but I wanted to generate the report for activity for the month. I can simply select my date parameters for 8/1 to 8/31. We can include either one permit type or all permit types, as well as you can include multiple or all payment options. And then we click to run the report. The report generates in an Excel format with the information based on your search parameters. All right, and now we just click the home button to navigate back to the home page. The next link is your route surveys link. For the state of Virginia, route surveys are required for all loads that exceed 16 feet high. The system will automatically generate the route survey documentation for the customer and supply it to you all for you to have performed by a third-party route surveying company. The next link is your shopping cart link, and this is where your approved permits will be available for purchase. Once your permits have been approved by the state user or they are eligible for self-issue, those permits will be listed here and available for purchase. On the right-hand side of your dashboard, we have another option to the shopping cart. So you have two options to view the shopping cart, either here on your left or either on the top right-hand corner of your screen. If there are permits in the shopping cart available for purchase, this number will be increased. It also will increase the total dollar amount for all permits within the shopping cart. And then there's a link to get you to your shopping cart. It brings you to the same page that the link here on your left-hand navigation brings you to. The next section is your statistics section. This gives you data statistics for your particular company. So it lets you know how many permits were issued today, as well as how many permits were self-issued. Below that is for your insurance status. So it tells you if there is valid insurance on file. If you need to upload an insurance document, you could upload your insurance information from here on your dashboard, or you could upload insurance from the login page. To upload insurance, you simply click the View Upload Insurance Records link. From here, if there were any previous insurance records submitted, they will be listed here on this screen. To add a new insurance record, you simply click the plus icon. And from here, you enter in the associated information associated to your insurance policy. So you enter your policy number. You enter the effective date of your policy. You enter your expiration date. And upload a copy of your insurance accord by clicking the Choose File option. You click the Choose File, and now it lets you know that you've attached and successfully uploaded a new insurance record. So once you have all the information entered, you'll just click the Save option here at the top. And now here in your pending insurance records section, it lets you know that you've submitted your insurance documentation. All insurance records are submitted to DMV for review and approval before they become active within the system. Once you upload your insurance information and it is approved by DMV, your insurance is valid for the duration until it reaches your expiration date. You are not required to upload insurance for each permit transaction. So it is a one-time thing annually or for whatever your insurance expires. And then on the bottom portion of the screen is your messages panel. This is where any messages that DMV wants to communicate to the customer base will be listed here in your messages panel. All right, so we've reviewed the links here on your left and looked at the panels on your right. So now we're going to jump into your order permit process. To get it, once you log into the system, at the very top of your screen, you have the Order New Permit link. So to start a new permit application, you'll click the Order New Permit link. It automatically populates the information for your customer. So the customer you're logged in as will be listed here on the customer screen. And then you click the next button. The next screen is your contact information screen. Here, it would automatically populate the information on file for the user who is logged in and currently ordering the permit. You have the option to select your primary delivery method as well as your additional delivery method. Your primary delivery method should default to the method selected during the account creation or from your customer management. An additional delivery method is in the event that you want to send the issued permit PDF to an additional person once it is approved, once it is issued. So in the event that you're in the office and you're ordering your permit, but you have a driver that you need to send the issued permit to as well, you can do that from a single process. So you could add the primary delivery method to be, I want the permit to come to me. And then additionally, I want to send it to my driver. So I can select an additional delivery method and then change it to whoever I want to send it to. And now once the permit is issued, it'll be delivered to both the primary and additional delivery methods. Excuse me. The customer reference field is an optional field, but if you have any additional information associated to the permit order, specifically, we see a lot of permit services utilize this option. There's an internal reference number that you want to link this particular permit application to an internal reference number. You can list that here in the permit application password, in the permit application process as well. Once you have all your contact information listed, you'll just click the next button. This is where you will select the permit type for which you are ordering. From your permit type selection, you have three options. If you can order a single trip permit, which is your 5-day or 13-day routed permits. You can order your blanket permits, which either your 90-day superloads or your 1-year or 2-year blanket permits, or you have the option to order an exempt permit for one of the VA-specific exempt commodities. So we'll start off and we'll look at our single trip. So once you select single trip from your drop-down list, your permit definition will default to a single trip option. Below that, you have your start date. You can order a permit up to 15 days in advance. So you can order a permit that starts up to 15 days from today's date. If you select a start date that is outside of your 15-day window, the system will let you know the maximum allowable start date and let you know that the information you selected was not updated. So 15 days from today is September the 9th, so I can only select a start date of as the latest of September 9th. Once you have your start date selected, you can select next. This is the information associated to the vehicle for which you are permitting. So from here, you have the option to select from a pre-saved list of vehicles. So this will be from the information that I saved in the vehicle import process. So since I added vehicles to my customer inventory, I can select a vehicle from my list, and that will automatically populate the information associated to the vehicle. Or I have the option to individually enter the information associated to my vehicle. Virginia only requires you to enter either the last 5 of the VIN for the vehicle or the state and plate information. You're not required to enter every field. However, if you have it, you can enter as much information as you have. You're also required to select your vehicle configuration. This is either a single unit or a combination. If there are any errors on your screen, you will receive this information to let you know, hey, you forgot something. So come back in and make sure you select the appropriate or enter the appropriate information, and you won't be allowed to proceed in the permit order process until it is selected. Once you have all your vehicle information entered, you will just simply click next. The next screen is your load details information. So this is the details surrounding the load being permitted. The first drop down is for your commodity type. It's from a predefined list of commodities. So you'll select the commodity that best describes the load being permitted. So for this option, for today's training, we'll select any irreducible items. From the transport method, you have either if you're hauling, towing, or driving the permitted vehicle. We'll select we're hauling our load. There are 2 attest statements. You can attest that your load is non-divisible or that hauling multiple items does not create an additional overdimension. We'll select the load is non-divisible option. On the bottom of the screen is where you enter your overall configuration parameters. So this is your overall dimensions and weight for your particular load. So for this example, will be 14 high, will be 12 wide, 110 long, have no front overhang and a 5-foot 5-inch rear overhang, and our overall GVW will be 80,000 pounds. You are not required to enter 0 in your inches field. You can leave those fields blank if there are no inch values associated to the particular dimension. Below your GVW is an additional drop down for evenly distributed load. And so this is just saying, asking if your load is evenly distributed. You select either yes, no, or that your load does not extend beyond the confines of the trailer. So we'll select that option and click next. You are required to enter your axle weights and spacings data for your load. So at the very top, you increase to the number of axles that the permitted vehicle has. and you enter your axle weights and spacings for that vehicle. So we'll have 16,000 pounds on each of our axles. And enter our axle spacings as well. You notice at the top, our total weight increased as we entered our axle weights, as well as our total spacing or our total wheelbase based on our spacings entered. And then our permit type, determining if we are a routine permit or a super load. We also have the option to display a configuration. So if you click the display configuration option, it displays you a pictorial view of what you entered for your axle weights and spacings. You have a side view as well as a top view. So as you update this information, your diagram does change based on your entered information for your axle weights and spacings. All right, so once you've entered your axle weights and spacings, another thing to keep in mind that on the previous screen, I entered a total GVW of 80,000 pounds. If I was to come on this screen and enter my axle weights and spacings that exceeds or is not the same as what I entered on the previous screen, when I click next, I'll receive an error message to let me know that my GVW must be equal to the weight of all axles. If I know that my axle weights and spacings data is correct, I can click the update GVW option. And now that automatically changed the GVW on the previous screen to equal what was entered on the axle weights and spacing screen. So now that all my information matches, I can click next. And now I'll be routed here to the routing page. The routing page in the permit application process is similar to the routing page that we saw in pre-trip planning. So I can select, and for this option, I'll select a latitude and longitude. You have the option to enter the exact coordinates if you have them. And if you do not have the exact coordinates for latitude and longitude, you can click the Find option. This populates a map. You can enter the focus city. So you can enter like, okay, I'm starting here in Appomattox. Once I enter a focus city and click go, it zooms me into the particular city on the map. Now I can zoom in from the map to determine which roadway I want to select. And to select a location on the map. So let's say I'm starting right here at this landscaping supply store. I click the select radio button. I select the location on the map. Make sure you have to zoom in extremely close to the map to make sure you select the correct direction of travel. You can see arrows here on the map for your direction of travel. Once you've selected your location, you click done. And the system automatically populates the latitude and longitude coordinates based on the selection on the map. For my destination, I can select another latitude, longitude, an intersection, a border crossing, or a military base. They do not have to be the same for origin and destination. So I'll select just the border crossing. And now when I click route, the system will generate a route, as I mentioned earlier, that bypasses all restrictions. So now I have my origin, my destination, and my particular route. Initially, you can see that maybe it may have been a shorter distance to start at my origin and come down here on 47 to get to my destination. However, there are red highlights here. So therefore, it's telling me that there is a restriction here that I cannot go this way based on my permitted load. So that's why my route is kind of going around this roadway in order to reach my destination. If you have a problem with your route and would like your route reviewed, you have the option to select the I have a problem with my route and would like it to be reviewed option and enter a reason for your route review. And when you enter this reason, this note, as well as this permanent application, will be submitted to DMV for additional review. Below the map, you have your dimensions. That includes anything that was entered on the previous screen. Your axle weights and spacing information. You have a list of all the structures that were crossed along the route. And then you have your driving directions, your origin, your destination, your total trip distance, your abbreviated route description, as well as your turn-by-turn directions. Once you are satisfied with your route, and excuse me, here on the routing page, you have similar options or features with the map. You can pan, you can zoom. You can turn off your green highlights, which then reduces so you can't see your what we consider the on system or the routable network. You could turn off your restriction layer. And you could also turn on your cross bridges layer. You turn on your cross bridges. This is where it displays the structures that are crossed along the route. Zooms at a far level, you'll see the larger balloons with numerical values. If you zoom in closer to the balloon, these numerical values are reduced until you zoom in close enough to have each individual structure easily identified across your route. So once you're satisfied with your route, you can click next. Here is where you can add locality permits. So for Virginia, the routed locality permits will be for the Norfolk area. Since my load did not route near Norfolk, I don't have the ability to add any of the routed locality permits. Also, the system defaults to the maximum allowable number of days this permit is good for based on preset parameters by DMV. Particularly for your routed permits, your single trip permits, excuse me, is based on your load dimension that determines if you receive a 5-day or a 13-day permit. Your end date is automatically calculated based on your duration and your start date. So it's 13 days or whatever your duration is from your start date to get to your end date. These fields are ineditable and cannot be changed. So we click next. From here, we get to the permit conditions screen. This lists all the specific conditions associated to your permit application. So you have your safety equipment, if there are any escort requirements, as well as your applicable travel times listed here. Then we click next. And this is your summary screen. It gives you a breakdown of all the information entered in your permit application. It gives you a breakdown of your fees as well as your total fee amount. That's a summary of the information entered, your contact information, your permit information, your start date and end date, your vehicle information, your load information, your configuration parameters, your actual information, as well as your route information, followed by your conditions. In the event that you would like to submit your permit for additional technician review, you do have the option to request technician review. You are required to enter a reason if you want your permit submitted. And now, once you've reviewed all your information, you can click submit. If your permit was eligible for self-issue, permits within Easy Haul will self-issue if they meet the self-issue parameters. At system launch, self-issue parameters will be 14 feet high, 14 feet wide, and 100 feet long. And they must be less than superload weight dimensions. So anything less than 115,000 pounds, as long as you're not over axle based on the chart 2. If you're eligible for self-issue, that permit will then be routed to your shopping cart for payment. All right, so now your permit has been submitted to the permit office for additional review. And now we can return back to our dashboard. Here, now you see listed on your dashboard is the permit that we just previously submitted. It tells us the current status of that permit application. If we extend this drop down, it gives us the information associated to the permit, our dimensions, our weight, and our origin and destination options. In the permit queue, you can filter or search for particular permits by your permit ID. Your permit ID is the reference number assigned to the application before it is issued. The next option to filter is your permit number. Your permit number will not be assigned to a permit until the permit is issued. You can filter by permit type. You can filter by particular vehicle information for your unit number. You can filter by your issue date or your start date or your VIN number. Additional actions from your permit queue include the first arrow is to view your permit details. So if you click to view the details, this opens up the information associated to that particular permit application. You have your general information, which is the permit type information, as well as some contact information. The next tab is for your vehicle and load information. So it still presents you with the information entered for that particular permit application, followed by any of the changes that were done to the application. So anytime the application was processed, those changes are available here in your permit actions. You have your documents and your PDFs section. So once your permit is issued, your issued permit PDF will be available here in the PDF section. You have your associated fee items for your permit total fee. Once payment is remitted, it will be listed here. Any associated notes to the permit application will be listed here in your notes tab. Here is your route information. When you click the route tab, you have the ability to load a map, which loads the same interactive map that we saw in the permit application process. And then the final tab is your conditions tab, which lists any of the associated specific conditions associated to the load being permitted. To return to the dashboard, you just simply click your dashboard link. The next option is a copy permit action. So this is extremely helpful that when you click to copy your permit application, so now this is going to create a new permit application that automatically populates all the information from the permit that you are copying. So now we have a new permit application. We can modify any of the information that was previously entered, with the exception of our permit type. The one thing that you cannot change in a copy permit is you can't go from one permit type to another. So your permit type information is grayed out. You can change your start date. You can change to a different vehicle. You could change any of your load information. Or keep any of it the same. It automatically pulls in our axle information. So now we don't have to re-enter that. It also pulls in our routing coordinate options. So we don't have to re-enter those. We just can get to the routing page and click route. And now we get our system generated route. And now we click next. Same information here on our locality page. And now our permit conditions. And now we're here at our summary screen where we only had to modify the information that we wanted to in the permit application, but everything was already pulled in. So now when we click submit, our permit was submitted to the permit office. Other factors that impact your self-issue is that for the system generated route, if you route on a secondary road or a road that has a route number greater than 600, your permit will not self-issue. Permits that route on roads that are greater on road numbers or route numbers that are greater than 600 will not self-issue. Also, if your load requires any type of bridge analysis or VDOT review, those permits will not self-issue. A great thing to note is that VDOT is also utilizing Easy Haul, so the bridge analysis component also happens here in the Easy Haul system. All right, so the next action is a delete action. So in the event that you want to cancel this permit, as long as the permit has not been processed by the state user, the customer has the ability to cancel a permit from your dashboard. So you can just click the trash can icon and then confirm that you really want to cancel this permit. And now your permit was canceled and you can see it was removed here from your dashboard. All right, so now we're going to look at one of our blanket permit options. So we're going to order a new permit. We have all of our contact information. So now we select our blanket permit type. From the drop-down list, the next drop-down list, we have the option to select an interstate only blanket, a specified route blanket, or an unspecified route blanket. So we'll go ahead and we'll select the unspecified route. The permit definition automatically populates the blanket unspecified. For our start date, once again, you can select a start date up to 15 days in advance, or 15 days in the future, excuse me. And our last 5 digits of our VIN, select our vehicle configuration. We'll select our commodity type, any irreducible items. We are going to haul it, select one of our test statements. And now we're going to be 13, 6, 12, 25, no overhangs, 80,000 pounds GVW, and we are going to be evenly distributed. So now we click next. We're here to our axle weights and spacings page. We're going to increase, this truck has 5 axles, 16,000 pounds on each axle. To reach our 80,000 pound weight, we click next. So now we're at our locality permits. So the system lets you know that because my insurance has not been approved by the state, I cannot add any of the locality permits to my permit application. However, once my insurance is approved, at that point, I will have the ability to select any of my locality permits that I want to add to my permit application. Also, for our blanket permits, since I am within routine dimensions, I have the option to select either I want this blanket good for 1 year or 2 years. So based on your duration selection, it then automatically populates our end date. So now we click next. It automatically populates our permit conditions. And now we're at the summary screen. It gives you a breakdown of our fees. So our contact information, permit information, start date, end date, vehicle information, our axle breakdown, as well as our conditions. And now if I click submit, now this permit has a status of pending payment, meaning this permit will self-issue and is now available for payment in my shopping cart. So I have the ability to either return to my dashboard or the option to pay for permits now. So I click the Pay for Permits Now link. And it loads. It lists the permits that are authorized for payment. So this is the permit that we just submitted. It lets me know my reference number, my permit type, my start and end date. It gives me that this permit is actually authorized for payment and the payment amount. It then lists the total amount. A great thing with Easy Haul is that you are able to purchase multiple permits in a single batch transaction. So if you have several permits that are available for purchase in your shopping cart, you can purchase all of those permits from a single transaction. And another thing to note is that permits will be in your shopping cart up to 5 days after the anticipated start date. 5 days, excuse me, after your anticipated start date, those permits will go to a no payment status and will no longer be eligible for purchase. Excuse me. So now we can select our payment type. So how do we want to pay for our permits? We will have e-check as credit and a credit card option. If your company is authorized for ACH through the DMV host, ACH will be listed here in the drop down as well. So if we want to pay by e-check, we'll select the e-check option. Well, actually, let's just go to credit card. All right, so we want to use the credit card option. We'll enter our total credit card amount, our payment amount, and then click to process payment. We're going to confirm that we want to make this payment. And now we're going to be rerouted to the credit card processor screen. And now we're at the credit card processor, so we select to check out. And here it automatically populates the information associated to my company, and I can enter my card number. Enter my expiration date and my CVV, and click Submit Payment. So if my payment was successful, I'm rerouted back to Easy Haul system, where I now have my issued permit PDF. It was delivered to me via the delivery method selected in the permit application. And now I can click to view my permit PDF. And now I have a copy of my issued permit PDF. And this was done without any state intervention. If I click to return to home, now here I have listed my permit number, my permit type, the date, the current status of this permit. And now I have the option here to download a copy of my PDF. This option, if you notice, is not available for permits that have not been issued. All right, so the next thing I want to look at is just if you need to upload a route survey. And so I create my permit application by simply copying a permit on my dashboard. My load will exceed 16 feet in height. Get my system generated route. And for this example, it tells me that the system cannot successfully find a route for my load. So I received a message to let me know that my route failed to generate. So now you can either manipulate or change your origin and destination. So I'm just going to change my routing options. And click route. And now I'm good with the route, so I'll click next. So in Virginia, some additional information may be required if you exceed certain parameters within your permit application. So for this example, I am required to provide to the state the driver's first name, the driver's last name, as well as the driver's phone number. I can enter that information and then click next. And now here I am once again on my summary screen where I have a breakdown of my fees with my fee total, my contact information, my permanent vehicle information, axle weights and spacings information, my route information, so my abbreviated route directions, as well as my turn-by-turn driving directions. And now I can submit this permit application for technician review. So give me 1 second, please. So now this permit has a status of pending. I can return to my customer dashboard. And I'm gonna sneak and go approve this permit so we can look at the route survey process really quickly. 1 second. All right, while I'm doing this, DMV, are there any questions that we need to circle back to? Are there any questions in the chat that we need to circle around so that you all have not been able to answer?
Natasha, we've been able to answer all of them. We're good.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Perfect. All right, so I am just approving this permit. 1 second. All right, so now my permit that required a route survey because I exceeded the threshold of 16 feet high. The customer is notified once the permit has been approved and your route survey has been generated via email. So now when you log into the system here on the route surveys link, you are routed to a route survey screen. You have your associated route survey number, which is a unique identifier that links your route survey to your particular reference number or permit ID. Here you can download a copy of the system generated route survey form. So this is the route survey form that you'll receive in order to have run by your third party. It provides your load information, your route information, with your conditions, as well as your turn-by-turn driving directions. So once you have the route run, if there are no issues, or if there are any route changes, that information is listed here in the route survey form. Once you have completed the route survey form and all the information is populated, you will need to save a copy of the completed route survey form to your workstation for uploading into the system. So from your route survey screen, once you have the information completed, You can click the upload route survey. And now you'll just choose the file to upload. And now you submit your uploaded information and click save. And now your completed route survey documentation has been sent back to DMV for review. All right, a few more features that I wanted to look at, and we have about 9 minutes left on today's training, is that in the system, you can correspond with the permit office via the permit notes. So from your dashboard or either within the permit application process, you can click to view your permit details. And here on your notes tab, you can add a note to the permit application and click to add note. And this note will be associated to your permit application, and the permit office will see the note when they are reviewing the application. The permit office can then correspond back with you within the permit application and can also choose to send any of the note correspondences via email from the system. Another feature that I wanted to look at is that if you are in the middle of a permit application, so if you start a new permit application, but you don't want to finish the application right now, so you're waiting on some more information, or you get pulled away to go do something else, you do have a save and exit option. So this option saves any progress that you've made in the permit application. So if you click save and exit, this particular permit application will be available here on your dashboard. To resume the permit application, you'll click the green pen icon to resume the permit. So when you're ready to start working that permit application again, you can click resume. And it brings you back to your permit application with all the information that you previously entered before clicking save and exit. All right, so that ends today's training. We are super excited. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, the Easy Haul system is scheduled to go live on Tuesday, August the 30th at 7:30 a.m. If there are any questions, go ahead and please add those to the chat. We will try to address them. And if there's nothing else, you all have a great day, and we look forward to working with you all starting next week.
Natasha.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Natasha.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Never mind. We already answered it. She was quicker than me.
Thank you all. Have a great day. If there are no other questions, we'll hang around for about 5 more minutes in case something, any questions pop up as you process the information that we've gone through for the last hour and a half.